This is the king of the AM4 platform, the Ryzen 7 5800X3D, and also the CPU that I had in my rig for the longest time. What you see here is my girlfriend's rig, where the 5800X3D currently resides, along a kit of DDR4 3800MHz and an RTX 3080. In the background, you can witness the in-game settings that are used for the purposes of this test. I do want to mention that this entire computer was not max overclocked or max undervolted per se, it's just using Combo Strike 3 with basically XMP 3800 RAM, so a nice kit of BDI RAM but not tuned, and the 3080 only has a minor overclock on it. Given this is my girlfriend's computer, I didn't just take the liberty to try max overclock it and then maybe cause a crash or two because it was too overclocked, so I just left it as it was because the performance was anyway quite well optimized, given the 5800X3D so overkill for the 3080. What you'll notice if you look on the top left hand side is that indeed the 3080 is sitting at 97% usage, and yes, that means the 5800X3D can easily drive the 3080 to its maximum GPU usage throughout pretty much the entirety of Ashika Island. Another important thing to note is that this performance is only comparable with other Season 4 results. Don't compare it with Season 3.5, Season 3, Season 2 or Season 1, as those seasons all performed better than where Season 4 is currently performing at. With that said, it hit about 170 average FPS and 95 FPS in the lows, which is reasonable for this part combo. Moving on to Vondel, the performance here is a bit more interesting because it brings up a couple question marks in my head about how much they could have fucked up the CPU optimization if within Ashika Island you get pretty much full GPU utilization, and yet here it seems like you're getting full GPU utilization and better FPS than Ashika in this part of the test. But the second you're gonna notice me turn to the left side of the map and look more inwards, that's gonna suddenly change and the 5800X3D becomes not enough for the 3080 even, which is kind of stupid. Take a look at this, the performance just dropped instantaneously by 20 FPS, the GPU usage is now lower, meaning the 5800X3D has now become the bottleneck of the 3080. Warzone is one of the very few games out there that if you think you future-proofed yourself with the CPU, well, it turns out you're wrong because the CPU is now suddenly too slow after just a couple seasonal updates, even for something like a 3080, which is a last generation high-end GPU, but by all accounts mid-tier by today's standards. Sad reality is, Warzone's just not that well optimized, and overall, the 5800X3D seems to occasionally struggle to maintain it at 100% utilization, but does it throughout most of the map. So, if you get a 5800X3D and you have a 3080, you at least know that the worst case scenario you'll get is about a 20 to 30 FPS drop, assuming you get into one of those CPU-bound parts of the map. Now yes, the performance is still very good, you're getting about 170 average FPS, with the only downside being that you won't always have the GPU utilization set at max within Vondel, because Vondel is just a terribly optimized map. But given a system of this performance tier costs anywhere between $1,300 to $1,700 generally, the performance is actually really solid for that amount of money. While Vondel is not the best performing map out there, Al Mazrah definitely likes competing against what performs worse, as there's plenty of packet burst and latency issues currently within every single server, making the performance of the map completely unplayable at times depending on the server you're playing on. Yes, I had to requeue like 3 or 4 times until I got a server that didn't have packet burst, which is yet again absurd, but this is why I don't usually like testing Al Mazrah, because the servers are absolutely dog poop. With that said, I did eventually find a server that worked well, and as you can see, the FPS average is sitting at around 166, with the 1% lows being at around 82, the lowest of the 3 maps. Luckily, for this map, the 3080 is still the bottleneck, making the 5800X3D sufficient to run at a very consistent frame rate. Why you always want the GPU to be the bottleneck is because you'll get results very similar to this, where across all 3 maps, the average FPS was pretty much the same, with the 1% lows having a slight variance. If you were to say CPU bound, this variance would be significantly larger between the maps, especially on Vondel and Al Mazrah. All things considered, I think my girlfriend's PC and my old PC essentially is performing quite well. She's been enjoying it, and I enjoyed it too when I used to own it. Having made the move to the 7950X3D did gain me a lot of performance, but the 5800X3D will always be with me at heart. If you guys need help with optimizing your computer, I actually offer optimization services. You may find the link to the website down below, fill out the consult form, and I'll get back to you with a quote exactly with what I can help and how much it'll cost. With that said guys, I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Have a good one, and peace.